Hello everyone, and welcome back to the psychology behind it, where we simplify psychology, one video at a time. In our last video, we talked about behaviorism, the idea that our actions are shaped by experience, not just thoughts or feelings. And today, we're diving into one of the most famous ways that learning happens, classical conditioning. You've probably heard the phrase, Pavlov's dogs, but what does that actually mean? Let me tell you a story. Over a century ago, there was a Russian scientist named Ivan Pavlov. Interestingly, he wasn't even studying psychology, he was researching digestion in dogs. But during his experiments, he noticed something strange. Every time he fed the dogs, they would start to salivate, which made sense. But then he realized the dogs were salivating even before they saw the food. Sometimes it would happen when they heard footsteps, or when someone walked into the room. That's when Pavlov got curious. He wondered, were the dogs learning to associate certain sights or sounds with food? So he designed a simple experiment. Every time he gave the dogs food, he rang a bell first. At first, the bell meant nothing. It was just a random sound. The dogs didn't react to it. But after repeating this again and again, ring the bell, give the food, something changed. Eventually, the dogs started to salivate as soon as they heard the bell, even when no food was in sight. What happened here is a perfect example of classical conditioning, learning by forming associations. Let me explain what was going on, step by step. In the beginning, the food naturally made the dogs salivate. That's something they didn't have to learn, it just happened. In psychology, we call the food an unconditioned stimulus, because it naturally triggers a response. And that response, the drooling, is called the unconditioned response. It's automatic. Now, the bell at first didn't do anything. It was just a sound, unrelated to food. So we call it a neutral stimulus, something that doesn't cause any particular reaction on its own. But once Pavlov started pairing the bell with the food over and over, the dog's brain made the connection. The bell started to mean something. Eventually, the bell itself, even without food, caused the dogs to salivate. At that point, the bell wasn't neutral anymore. It had become a conditioned stimulus. Conditioned stimulus is something that now triggers a reaction because of learning. And the drooling that happened because of the bell? That was the conditioned response, a new behavior that was learned through association. So even though it started out as just a bell and a snack, what Pavlov showed us was something much bigger. That animals, and people, can learn to respond to things that once had no meaning, simply because those things became linked with something else. That's classical conditioning. Now you might be thinking, okay, cool, but how does this apply to me? Well, a lot more than you might realize. Do you ever feel hungry when you smell popcorn at the movie theater, even if you just ate? Or maybe you hear a phone notification and get excited, even if it's not your phone. That's classical conditioning at work. Your brain is constantly making connections between sounds, smells, sights, and emotions or physical reactions, without you even realizing it. Classical conditioning doesn't just explain dog experiments. It helps us understand phobias, like why someone might fear dogs after being bitten once. Addictions, where cues in your environment trigger cravings. Anxiety, like feeling nervous when you enter a classroom because of past stress. Even how advertising works, using music, logos, and colors to create emotional connections. Once we understand how these learned associations are formed, we can change or unlearn them too. Thanks for watching. In the next video of the psychology behind it, we'll explore operant conditioning, where rewards and consequences shape our behavior. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and of course, ring that bell so you don't miss the next video.